Yeah, hello there. Good morning. You're welcome to the Uncle Mike Speaks podcast. Well, it's been a very lovely day. It's been a very lovely day. Um, the year is halfway through the month of June. The year that probably started like last week. Well, like you probably already figured out, the theme of today's episode is one that requires a bit more reflection, requires a bit more thoughtfulness. It's not every day that you get to learn a new thing, at least visibly learn a new thing. But the truth is, every day, if you are conversant, if you are intentional enough, you should learn. And very recently, I've had to learn a lesson that I thought I had learned completely. But I know that that's just fallacy. Nobody really learns everything completely, if you know what I mean. I themed today's episode as the world needs less mad people, and I'll kick it off with a very funny story. You probably know it. As I have this conversation alongside, you realize what it is I mean by the world needing less mad people. Somebody very smart, a friend of mine, really said something, and he said most times a lot of people, countries, they go into conflict, and conflict is part of life because of course, various identities, different backgrounds, and the likes. Instead, most times people go into conflict, and when they are properly asked why those conflicts exist, half or more than the times the warring parties probably have little reasons as to why they are even fighting. And at the end of the day, the warring parties would probably get to a point and realize if only they had just taken a moment's breath, had a rethink before they acted, you know, that maybe there and then conflict wouldn't have escalated to the point where it is or it was. So there's a story. A man was having his bath and he hung his towel across like the wall or the door. A madman who was naked, visibly naked, everyone sees that he's naked, goes towards the bathroom, picks up the towel that was hanging on the wall, ties it around his waist, and runs. He makes a run for it. The guy having his bath notices this, comes out from the bathroom, and runs after the madman. Not before long, this same guy who was having his bath realized that to the eyes of everyone around, he looks like the mad person. The madman looked like the same person who was being pursued by a mad person. And you quickly realize that if the same guy had just taken a moment to just realize, hold on, this person is mad, I'm naked. If I go after him, there will probably be a notion, to think, what would I do? So maybe I look for another mode of action to help me retrieve my towel without, or better still, even ignore the towel without being seen as though you are mad. Another quick one. This one I learned from one of my bosses. You know how children can be children? So maybe you're taking care of a 3-year-old, right? The 3-year-old acts as a 3-year-old. So he runs around, makes a lot of noise, and you, the parent or the guardian, you are the supposed adult. You are the adult. You're not even the supposed adult. You are the adult. And you go, you let loose, you start venting on this child. Very quickly, you also notice that the people around would see you as someone who is mentally unstable. Why? Because everybody knows that that's a kid. And a kid would always act as a child, but the expectation is you, the adult, should be able to manage the situation better as an adult will be expected to. These two scenarios I've just painted is something that I've had to learn very recently. I got into a squabble with somebody who, for a very long time, I had been, should I say, praise myself? I've been praising myself for the fact that, you ignore a lot of things, you note a lot of shenanigans, and you say, well, I'm going to be a bigger person, I'm going to ignore. And before you know, after a couple of years of holding on, it just looks as though you tell yourself, if I let loose now, nobody's going to blame me. But the truth is, in the sight of so many people, just like the narration of the madman and the guy having his bath, everybody notices the shenanigans. Everybody knows that the madman is coming. Everybody knows that, oh, you've been trying your best. It's not an issue. But the day you react in a manner that makes you look as though you are a mad person, there and then you become at fault. So this, would I say friend, have been ignoring so many of the shenanigans. And the truth is, after sitting down and wondering what could be the issue between myself and this person, I can't even say this is what started the whole. But anyway, this continued and it got to a point where I had to, you know, poke this person to say, okay, you know what? I want to see what you're going to do. And that escalated very quickly. You know how you have a conflict like that, and deep down in your heart, you feel a bit justified that you acted in the proper manner, only for you to get feedback, from people saying, you know what, I'm disappointed in you. You really should have held it up together. And you very quickly realize that no matter how long you have been holding it together, letting loose at the very moment you did still makes you culpable. And it was a very huge lesson for me to learn. I was ashamed of my reaction. I was ashamed of the things that, when people, and the key thing is to take feedback, take it in good faith and learn from it. And this I had to do, hence my making this episode today. It takes a lot, but like I said, this world needs one less mad person. It doesn't matter how long it takes for the other person to learn. I know there's this need to always want to change the other person, but I've quickly come to realize that the more effort you want to put into trying to make that person see how wrong they are, the more likelihood you fall into the same pit. It's like going into a pigsty to struggle for marbles with the pig. Very quickly, you notice that you find yourself looking more like the pig. Take a look at the brewing war among nations. There had been a standing squabble between Israel and the Palestinians, the whole Gaza issue and all that for years. Then in October 7th, the Palestinians invade Israel and kill over 3,000 people. Now, I'm not advocating for any of them because, like, if you are observant enough, you realize that the aim of today's episode is to take a step back, evaluate your reaction, and come to a point where you realize this world needs one less mad person. So, of course, Israel becomes furious, goes in and attacks Hamas. So, Hamas is like a terrorist group hiding within Palestine, and I'm sure you know the story already. So, this is where it gets dicey for Israel. So, Israel goes on a rampage, starts, you know, it's often believed that the Hamas terrorist guys stay in between civilians, innocent civilians who probably don't know what's up. Whether they know or they don't know, it really doesn't matter. But Israel goes on a rampage, killing Hamas, but unfortunately killing innocent civilians. And they do it all in the Gaza Strip, go deep. And initially, a part of the world feels like, you know what, is fine. You feel hot. It's a long battle of a number of years. You've gone ahead. Maybe you should stop. Children are dying. In fact, there was a case of a bombing of a hospital that there was a claim, I think it's even verified now, that the Hamas terrorist guys had like tunnels under the hospital. But this is a children's hospital, and yes, maybe they gave ample time, but they did go into those places and they were casualties, let's be frank. Then it quickly began to change the narrative worldwide, mentioning that, oh, maybe Israel is becoming too forceful. Let there be a ceasefire. But Israel goes on and says, no, we want to fight for these 3,000 people that were killed. They go ahead, they make an attack into Lebanon, kill some Hezbollah leaders. The world kept on looking at them. Israel started looking like the same guy who was having his bath and is running after a mad person who has his towel while doing that naked. Even I at a point felt, you know what, Israel, you've made a point. Just it's beginning to look. Then very recently, Israel, makes a calculated attack and kills someone in Iran. And the reaction of the world now is quite different because Iran now is like Iran, they've been waiting. That one thing, so that poke, they've been troubling you and you decide to poke like I did. That one poke is where people will say you missed it. So they go into Iran, bomb a high ranking officer there, and he dies. Then Iran seizes the opportunity and starts throwing missiles. So there's this security dome, like the security that Israel has, that for years have been preventing those kind of missiles. But this particular night, I think 2 or 3 days ago, the dome probably had too much to do, and before you knew it, it entered into Israel. In fact, a part of Tel Aviv was grounded. This time, the reaction of the world is different. the reaction of the world to Israel is, you know what? Probably you deserve it this time, because we've been saying, let it go. Let it go. Am I justifying what Iran is doing? No, I'm not. Am I justifying what Israel is doing? No, I'm not. Whatever it was that caused that issue, if one of those parties have just taken a step back and wondered what would be the after effect of this reaction I want to take. I saw the videos of the kibbutz that people stayed in Israel on October 7th, and I felt so mad. But again, what is that situation that you are going through that is bugging you? Maybe you have one person that seems to just be always antagonizing, always wanting to be on your neck. You've been holding it in, you've been holding it in, you've been holding it in, you've been being the bigger person. My message today is keep being that bigger person, because if you react in the wrong way, you end up doing something that you wouldn't want to do, or something that will be purely out of character. And you'll be like me thinking, maybe I should have just continued to be the bigger person. It's a lot to unbox, I know. As a matter of fact, up until I got back, sat down for a couple of maybe an hour or two, you now start receiving feedback from people, and you realize, man, I've messed up. People's perception of me has been tainted a bit just because of this action. So a lot of feedback you will hear is, you know this person, right? You should have just ignored. Like my wife puts it, she put it very plainly. She says, see, once you say you've known this person, you know that he has been doing this for years, then you just continue, because that seems to be an easier part. You already know, it's not unknown to you. And that's my message today, that even when you try to be the bigger person and the other partner is giving you, strange vibes, look for a way. Look for a way. Just continue being that bigger person, because if you do something out of character, and a friend of mine put it this way, you have much more to lose. Oftentimes, you realize, just like the Hamas and Israel situation, the countries who, in quote, were supporting Israel, are now saying, you know what, I'm going to hands off because I've told you. And that is the risk that someone like me, who is very big on reputation, gets to me. I'm like, you know what, it's not worth it at the end of the day. So we'll see where this takes us to. It's not easy by any means, trust me. I was furious that day, until you have a moment to think. So in what situation are you having your bath and a madman has picked your towel? Hey, hold on. Don't go running after the madman. Remember, the world needs less mad people. My name is Uncle Mike, and this is the Uncle Mike Speaks podcast. Today's episode is huge for me, and I hope it is for you. I'm open to feedback. Please subscribe, comment, ask questions. We'll be hosting this on YouTube. Very soon we'll be unboxing a video platform just to see how far this community can grow. Thank you very, very much. And I hope to hear back from you guys. Until when next we meet again, remember, Uncle Mike loves you, but God loves you more. Bye-bye.